We're going to start with our pre-trip inspection letter A. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start identifying the top of our vehicle and work our way down. So at the very top we have 5 clearance lights. We're going to make sure they're properly mounted secure, not cracked, not broken, proper color is amber, and no missing hardware. Our windshield, we're going to make sure it's properly mounted secure, it's not cracked, it's not broken, it's clean and visible, and it has no illegal stickers or anything to obstruct our view. Now our rear view mirrors and brackets are properly mounted secure to the vehicle, not bent, not cracked, not broken, and no missing hardware. They should be properly adjusted to the driver. Now my headlights. My headlights on the right side and left side, you can identify they're properly mounted secure. They're not cracked, they're not broken, and we have multiple functions. We have a high beam, a low beam, a turning signal, and a 4-way flasher. And make sure they're in the proper correct color. Underneath the vehicle, we're going to check to make sure we have no fresh puddles that indicate we have a leak. We're going to look for oil leaks, grease puddles, fuel leaks, coolant leaks, anything to indicate that our vehicle is out of service. Now, we're also going to make sure that my vehicle is on level grounds. We're going to check we have no flat tires, it has no lean, so there's no suspension problems or cargo loading problems. Now we're going to open the hood and start with our passenger side. On our passenger side, we just have one part to identify, which is your water pump. So we're going to make sure that our water pump is properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, it has no missing hardware, and it has no coolant leaks. It's belt driven. So if it's belt driven, we have to make sure we don't have no more than 3/4 of free play to the center of the belt, and there's no cuts, tears, frayed, or rips on the belt. My water lines that go to my water pump, make sure they're properly mounted secure on both ends. If they're metal, not bent, not cracked, not broken, and no coolant leaks. If they're rubber material, indicate they're properly mounted secure on both ends. There is no cuts, tears, frayed, abrasions, or coolant leaks. And now we go towards our driver's side. So keep in mind that on this passenger side we just have the water pump and it's belt driven. So we're gonna get all our belt driven items out of the way. So right here we have our alternator. We're gonna make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, it has no missing hardware. It's belt driven, so make sure the belt has no cuts, tears, frayed, rips, and no more than 3/4 of free play. Our alternator has 2 electrical connections, one positive, one negative. Make sure there's no corrosion, no missing hardware, and no exposed wires. Now our engine oil dipstick. We have to make sure that we have the proper oil level in our engine. So the way we check that and specify that to the examiner is we tell them verbally only that we'll pull out the dipstick, we'll wipe it, reinsert it, pull it back out, and check that it reads between the max and minimum range level. We're in working operating levels. Towards the back of our engine, kind of hard to see, but we have 2 gear driven items. We have our air compressor, and right below that we have our power steering pump. So we're going to identify that my air compressor, it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, it has no missing hardware, and it has no audible air leaks. Right underneath our air compressor, we have our power steering pump. We're going to identify that it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, has no missing hardware, and there's no oil leaks. Now, my air lines that go to my air compressor, make sure they're properly mounted secure on both ends. There is no cuts, tears, frayed, rips, abrasions, or audible air leaks. My power steering lines that go to my power steering pump, make sure they're properly mounted secure. No cuts, no tears, there's no frayed, there's no rips, no abrasions, or oil leaks. Keep in mind your air compressor and power steering pump are gear driven. And keep in mind that your water pump and your alternator are belt driven. You can't have no more than 3/4 of free play to the center of the belt. Now we're moving on to our reservoirs. So that we have our coolant reservoir, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not cracked, it's not broken, has no missing hardware. Our coolant level is between max and minimum and working range condition. Our cap is present, tight, and secure. It has no visible coolant leaks, and our coolant lines that come in and out of our coolant reservoir are properly mounted secure. There's no cuts, no tears, there's no freight, there's no rips or coolant leaks. Our power steering reservoir. Our power steering reservoir is properly mounted secure. It's not cracked, it's not broken, and it has no missing hardware. Our power steering oil level is between max and minimum and working range condition. And both caps are present, tight, and secure, not cracked or broken. Our power steering lines that go in and out of our power steering reservoir are properly mounted secure. There's no cuts, no tears, there's no freight, there's no ribs, and no audible oil leaks. Now, keep in mind, so far we mentioned the water pump on the passenger side, our alternator on the driver's side, our engine oil dipstick, our air compressor, power steering pump, and our coolant reservoir and power steering reservoir. Keep in mind, out of these components, you have 2 belt-driven items, 2 gear-driven items. Okay? Now we're moving on to our systems. This is what I like to call the big 3, because you have your steering system, suspension, and brake system. Those you don't want to miss nothing on. Those are really critical and really important. So here we go. We're going to start with our steering system. My gearbox. We're going to make sure that my gearbox is properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken. It has no missing hardware or loose hardware, and it has no visible oil leaks. Our U-joints. Our U-joints, make sure they're properly mounted secure. They're not bent, they're not cracked, they're not broken, and they have no missing hardware. Our steering column mount. Make sure that our steering column is properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken. No new welds, and no more than 10 degrees of plate left and right. Now, our lower steering components. Our lower steering components is 5 components total, and they're known as your steering linkage system. You have your pivot arm, your drag link, your upper control arm, and you have a lower control arm, and then you have a tie rod. So those 5 components, keep in mind, are known as your steering linkage system. My pivot arm, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds, and no missing hardware. My drag link, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, and no illegal welds. My upper control arm, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds or missing hardware. My lower control arm, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, and no illegal welds or missing hardware. My tie rod, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds, and no missing hardware. These 5 components are connected with crown nuts and carter pins. Identify they're properly mounted secure, they're not cracked or broken, there's no rust trails or shiny threads or anything to indicate they're loose or missing hardware. Now we're done with our steering system, so now we go to our suspension system. Our suspension system is made out of your frame, your spring mounts and hangers, your leaf springs, your U-bolts, your shock absorber, and everything connects to your front steering axle. So here we go. My frame, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds. My spring mounts and hangers in the front and back, make sure they're properly mounted secure. Not bent, not cracked, not broken, no illegal welds, and no missing hardware. My leaf spring, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds on it. No scissoring, no shifting, anything to indicate it has free play. No missing hardware. And our U-bolts. Our U-bolts hold the leaf spring in place. Make sure they're properly mounted secure. They're not cracked, not broken. There's no rust trails, no shining threads. There's no cross strains or indications of loose nuts or missing nuts or any loose or missing hardware. Our shock absorber. Make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, has no missing hardware, and no oil leaks or hydraulic leaks. Our front steering axle, it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, and no illegal welds. Now we go to our brake chamber. Brake chamber, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no missing hardware, and no audible air leaks. My air lines that go to my brake chamber. These are also known as brake lines. Make sure they're properly mounted secure. There's no cuts, there's no tears, there's no freight, there's no rips, and no audible air leaks. Now, our vehicle is ABS equipped, so we do have our ABS electrical wire and sensor. Make sure they're properly mounted secure and connected properly. There is no cuts, no tears, no freight, and there is no exposed wires. Our push rod and slack adjuster. Make sure they're properly mounted secure, not bent, not cracked, not broken, no missing hardware, properly greased, and has no more than 1 inch of plate with your brakes released. To wrap it up on our brake system, we're going to talk about our brake drum and brake shoes. So make sure that my brake drum and brake shoes are properly mounted secure. They're not bent, they're not cracked, they're not broken, there's no grease or oil leaks or residue. Make sure we have minimum 1/4 of brake lining material, which is required. The brake drum, check it for heat stretches, heat cracks, or overheating signs, or any bluing on the face. Now our front steering tire. Our front steering tire, we're going to start with the depth thread, then we'll go to the air pressure, then the condition. So we're going to make sure that our depth thread is 432 minimum. Make sure that the air pressure is inflated between 100 and 110, depending on the manufacturer of the tire. Also, the condition must be a virgin tire, not a recap tire. We're also going to make sure that on the condition we identify we can't have no nails, no screws, cuts, tears, freight, or rips, and that the sidewalls cannot have no abrasions and have a proper seal with the bead of the rim and no audible air leaks. My rim, properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, and no illegal welds. Our lug nuts. Make sure that all 10 lug nuts are properly mounted secure. They're not cracked, not broken. There's no rust trails, no shiny threads, or anything to indicate that there's loose nuts or missing nuts or loose hardware. Right here we have our hub oil seal. Make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not cracked, it's not broken, and it has no missing hardware. And it's properly filled to the proper oil level. Our valve stem and cap. Make sure it's properly mounted secure. It's not cracked or broken. Our air pressure should be rated between 100 and 110, depending on the manufacturer of your tire. Now, sir, we're going to go back here. So right here we have our coupling system. We have our emergency air line, our electrical line, and our service line. We're going to make sure that our emergency air line is properly mounted secure. It has no cuts, no tears, no freight, no rips, or audible air leaks. Our air line is connected to the gland hand and coupling. Make sure gland hand and coupling are properly mounted secure, not cracked, not broken, have a rubber seal between them, and no audible air leaks. And that car passed way too close. Our electrical line, make sure it's properly mounted secure and connected to the housing. Make sure it has no cuts, no tears, there's no freight, there's no rips, and no exposed, damaged, burned wires, or anything to cause a shortage. Our service air line, make sure it's properly mounted secure. It has no cuts, it has no tears, it has no freight, it has no rips, and no audible air leaks. My service gland hand and coupling connection are properly mounted secure, not cracked, not broken, have a rubber seal between them, and no audible air leaks. Now, really important, all 3 lines must be properly mounted secure on both ends and not dragging too low, and have a proper clearance between the catwalk and the air lines, okay? Now we're going to go to our 5th wheel system. So we're going to start with our apron. We're going to make sure that my trailer apron is properly mounted secure and attached to the trailer. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, there's no illegal welds. Then we have our 5th wheel skid plate. Make sure that the skid plate is properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds. Between the apron and skid plate, make sure there's no gap, no space between them, only properly greased. Our pivot pin. Our pivot pin holds the skid plate in place. Make sure it's properly mounted secure, not bent, not cracked, not broken, no illegal welds, and properly greased. Platform. Make sure that our platform is properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds, and properly greased. Our mounting bolts. Mounting bolts, make sure that the hardware is all properly mounted secure. They're not cracked, they're not broken, there's no rust trails, no shiny threads, no signs of indication of loose nuts or missing hardware. Our release arm. A release arm is super important. Make sure you identify that it's properly mounted secure and should remain closed when connected to the trailer. And the function that it has is to open and close locking jaws. It's not bent, not cracked, not broken, no missing hardware, and you can also say it should be properly greased. Now, sir, if you don't mind, we're going to get underneath our trailer and face the actual fifth wheel. So look, right here we have our kingpin. We're going to make sure that my kingpin is properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds are properly greased. Then we have our locking jaws. We're going to make sure that it's properly mounted secure. It's not bent, it's not cracked, it's not broken, no illegal welds are properly greased. Make sure that our locking jaws remain closed while connected to the trailer, and make sure that they're wrapped around the kingpins securely in place. Now, that concludes pre-trip inspection letter A.